Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Stephanie. I am a life and relationship coach. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. Thank you for joining me for another video. This week, I want to dive into symptoms of being in a narcissistically abusive relationship. So if you are in a relationship that you might think is unhealthy, abusive in any way, shape, or form, or if you have been in a narcissistically abusive relationship or an emotionally abusive relationship, these are definitely symptoms that you have experienced at one time or another. So the first symptom is you lose yourself, and most people will recognize this after the fact when the relationship ends, but a lot of family and friends while you're in the relationship might say, you've been acting differently, you seem differently, you're not the same person that you used to be, you're not as happy and light as you once were. And so this is definitely the first symptom of being in an abusive relationship. And when you lose yourself, essentially what it means is you are suppressing what you think, how you feel, you're trying to be someone that you're not. You begin possibly having symptoms of anxiety, possibly even panic attacks. You might even feel actually depressed being in this relationship because you are not authentically being yourself. You're trying to play a character in order to fit a mold of what you think this person wants to see. Now, the next symptom of abuse is walking on eggshells. And if you have ever been in a relationship with someone who is abusive, whether it's physical, verbal, sexual, any kind of an abuse, narcissistic abuse, where maybe there's gaslighting or, verbal bashing, whatever, withholding of love and affection, you oftentimes are going to feel like you are walking on eggshells because you don't want to provoke the situation. So I don't want to say something. I don't want to say how I feel. I don't want to say what I think. I'm nervous to set a boundary. I'm really scared to enforce a boundary. And most likely you don't even know how to enforce a boundary when you're dealing with this person because you don't want the abuse to happen. And when you're dealing with someone who's narcissistic, if you don't know the signs of emotional abuse, then most often you aren't even yourself, right? Which goes back to, symptom number one. You're not really yourself, and so you're constantly feeling anxious about just being who you are. So perhaps you begin to form a little bit of people pleaser where I just want to please this person, I don't want to set them off, I don't want to get them upset, I don't want to get into an argument about this, it's just not worth it. You tend to kind of say those things rather than being someone who's self-loving and being able to not fear confrontation and knowing that someone is being abusive with me and how to handle those situations. If you don't know how to handle abuse like this, then you are going to constantly, number one, lose yourself, and number two, always feel like you're walking on eggshells with this person because this person has power over you. Now, because this person has power over you in some sense, because you come from such lack, because you don't have confidence in yourself, because you're on the hamster wheel, like I say all the time, and you're going around and around in this relationship where you're going from honeymoon phase to abuse to gaslighting, and it's just going, here we go, the cycle continues and continues. You are going to experience disassociation, and this is where you are not believing what you're seeing, and perhaps you don't even know what you're seeing. So again, if you don't know signs of emotional abuse, if you don't know what's healthy versus unhealthy in a relationship, and this is all you've ever known, and you're just used to the hamster wheel, whether it's dealing with your parents or dealing with your mom or dealing with your dad or dealing with a sister, someone else that possibly has abused you in the past, then when you are dating and you're in relationships and abuse happens, even though logically you know that this isn't okay, that there's something wrong here, and you might feel it intuitively, you don't know how to get off the wheel because, like I said, it's all you've ever known. And so when that happens, and when you've given your power over to someone else, you're going to experience disassociation, which means in the beginning of the relationship, or at times, I see person A. And person A is amazing, and they seem healthy, and they're saying all the right things, and they're promising me the world, and they're doing all the right things. And all of that is just a game, is just a ploy, is just a hook to get you hooked into the relationship so the cycle continues and the abuse starts. So you're seeing person A who's amazing, and then most of the time you're seeing person B who is abusive and says these things and does these things and lies and whatever. And there's a conflict in your mind between who am I actually dealing with? Who is this person? I want to believe it's person A. And because you want to believe and you're projecting what you want in this relationship, you're projecting what, the fantasy onto this person. And because they're showing you little bits of fantasy, you're going to just ride the wave. And I'm going to believe I'm always dealing with person A. And when I see person B, who is abusive and does these things and says these things that are extremely hurtful, I don't want to believe that that's the person I'm dealing with. I don't want to believe that I'm in this unhealthy relationship. I just want to live in a fantasy that I'm not. That this person is exactly this little character that they pretend to be every now and then. And so that is dissociation. Now, the next symptom of not just narcissistic abuse, but any kind of abuse is you are going to experience in the relationship and after the relationship post-traumatic stress. That is just a symptom of being psychologically or mentally or emotionally or spiritually or physically or sexually abused. Now, there are many symptoms of post-traumatic stress, and I'm going to list them out briefly, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because I do want to make a video about post-traumatic stress and go into a lot of detail on what it looks like. That way when you're going about your day, okay, here we go, I'm starting to experience some symptoms of, post-traumatic stress right now, and how to cope with that. So for this video, I'm going to be very brief on symptoms of post-traumatic stress. So when we experience post-traumatic stress, essentially what's happening is we're having mental health issues where perhaps we have a lack of confidence, perhaps we have lost ourselves, perhaps we used to be a happy person, a positive person, and we're just not that person anymore. We could have anxiety, we could have panic attacks, we could have depression. So a combination of all those things. In combination with those things, we could also be very easily startled. So we could just be very hypersensitive to certain things, and we could be very irritable at times. We could have difficulty concentrating. We could definitely struggle with our sleep. So either we're constantly having nightmares or dreams about this person or the situation that we were in. We don't sleep well. We could be very light sleepers, and that's not necessarily a sign of having post-traumatic stress, but it definitely is a symptom of it. You could feel very detached and isolated at times. This is when we begin to have negative thoughts either about ourselves, either about the other person, either about the world or situations that we've been in. We are constantly having flashbacks. And flashbacks don't need to necessarily be because of a dangerous situation. It could just be an obsessive way that your mind is trying to cope with the situation that you were in. So if you tend to have obsessive thoughts, they don't have to always be negative thoughts, like really scary thoughts. They can just be obsessive thoughts about your ex. Where is she? What is she doing? Is he happy? Did he move on? All of that are symptoms of post-traumatic stress. The next thing is when I say that you lost yourself. Another symptom of not just losing who you used to be, where maybe you're not that happy, carefree person, you don't have the smile on your face, you just have lost an interest in life. And this could mean depression, this could mean isolation, or this could just mean that I'm not the same person I once was, in the sense that I don't embrace life in the same way. So maybe I don't go on as many trips, maybe I don't put myself out there. You just have lost what used to make you you. So your zest for life is completely gone. This is where the tape of I'm not good enough, where you tend to kind of blame yourself for what happened in the relationship, because all of this abuse, all of this neglect, all of this garbage has been put on you. It completely and utterly emotionally drains you. So because you are emotionally exhausted on many different levels because of what you've been through, it takes a huge amount of effort to get up in the morning. It takes a huge amount of effort to remember why life is so unbelievably amazing. You kind of have lost that part of yourself. And again, this is such a broad topic, right? Because we can have post-traumatic stress and maybe we only experience flashbacks. Maybe we only experience, obsessive thoughts. Maybe we haven't lost our zest for life. Maybe we can get out of bed in the morning and we're not like severely depressed, but at times you might experience a few of these things, or perhaps you might be experiencing all of these things. One of the last symptoms of abuse is, especially if you are in the relationship, you make excuses for the abuser. So there's always a reason why this person is abusing you, right? Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe I didn't listen to them. Maybe, maybe they're right. Maybe I am nagging. Maybe I am negative. Maybe I am, not the life of the party. Maybe I do need to change how I am, because you've been told all these stories time and time again, and you don't have a good sense of self. You don't know who you are. You're trying to fit a mold with maybe everyone in your life on who they want you to be. Maybe you haven't fully accepted who you are and really love yourself for everything that you bring to the table. And because of that, someone has been able to dictate who you are. And when you are not living up to that person's expectations of who they want you to be, you're going to constantly take the blame for everything that goes wrong, for everything that is happening in the relationship, and you're going to make excuses for why someone was able to verbally bash you or abuse you in any way. One of the most important things that comes out of you being in an abusive relationship, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a romantic relationship. It can be a family member, it can be a friendship, it can be any relationship. As long as you can understand what happened, as long as you're educating yourself, and if you're watching these videos, and if you're on YouTube, and if you're trying to read articles and trying to understand this person, and this just never seemed normal, this relationship, and I was definitely in an abusive relationship. Again, abuse is not black and white in the sense that an abuser is always going to use these tactics, right? There are going to be people that maybe they just like to gaslight. Maybe they're just conversational narcissists. Maybe they just are emotionally unavailable. One of the benefits to being in an abusive situation, whether that's a relationship that you had with your mother, or that you do have with your mother, or your father, or your sister, or your brother, or even a romantic relationship. This doesn't have to be about just romance. Any relationship that you're in can be abusive. And the benefit that comes of being in these relationships is things like these videos and articles that are written to educate yourself on what abuse actually looks like, what is healthy, what is unhealthy, and learning about this type of stuff. So the first thing is understanding, oh wow, I think I'm actually in an abusive relationship. The second thing is really learning how to love yourself, how to have a good sense of self, which means I know who I am. I know the good in me. I know the things that at times aren't the best qualities, and I know those qualities come from a lot of emotional wounds that are going on inside of me, but I'm going to take responsibility for that. You learning how to really love yourself, and that means validating yourself, motivating yourself, complimenting yourself, giving yourself good and healthy positive self-talk, doing affirmations, really just learning how to be your own best friend, how to just be nice to yourself. Let's just go with the basics here of self-love, just being nice to yourself, validating yourself, knowing what you think and how you feel, and being able to stand up to people and not be intimidated by confrontation or any bully that you come across, no matter what their personality is. When you get to that place, you'll never be in abusive relationships. And when you start to see abuse starting to form in a relationship, you'll immediately be able to spot it, detect it, take care of yourself, and walk away from a situation. So a lot of the good that comes of abusive relationships is you finally learn how to love yourself, how to be good to yourself, how to be nice to yourself, how to validate yourself, how to say, oh my God, I was in this relationship and this was completely unhealthy, and I'm not going to just blame the person and bash them. I'm also going to take responsibility for myself, and that perhaps I was codependent, perhaps I was a people pleaser, perhaps I was looking for validation, for someone to just love me and give me all the things that I've never known how to give myself. And practicing how to start giving yourself those things so you can be that healthy person that you want to be and be that happy person and start attracting good people into your life. So I hope that this video has helped you. If you have liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, don't forget to click subscribe down below and the notification bell. That is so important so you can be advised each week when I do upload a new video, and I will see you next week.